Well, boys and girls, it's taken 10 months of my life, 20 seasons in game, but we have finally achieved what we set out to achieve with Leamington. We won the quadruple. We won the Premier League. We won the Champions League. We won the FA Cup. We won the big one, the EFL Cup. And we even managed to top it off with a Conference League win as well. We did it all. We did everything. And then we retired. So today is all about holidaying forward 5 years into the future, so we can see how the players that achieved all of that wonderful stuff have got on in my absence, and if Theodros took over as manager. And oh, I've got so many questions. Quick, into it. Let's get into it. Right, let's, I don't know what to click on. I've holidayed forward 5 years. You can see it's the 10th of June, 2046. I have looked at nothing on here. I don't know anything. I guess a starting point would be to click on the Premier League and just see if Leamington are still in it and still winning it. So I guess we'll do that. If we click Premier League, Leamington are still good. There they are, look, second in the league. They did actually win it twice in a row after I retired. So that was the year I won the Premier League. Then we had 2 more years of Everton winning. And then whoever's taken over from me has 2 more Premier League wins. If it turns out they're also on as a club legend after just 5 years, I am going to be furious. Gonzalez is the best player in the league, looking at that, which is nice to see. Highest average rating, most man of the matches. He was worth 115 million. Kim's still there, keeping clean sheets as well. Let's look at the Media Dream 11. See how many of my boys are still in. So Saka, at 28 years old, is still in the Dream 11. Gonzalez is in the Dream 11. And then whoever this guy is, Said Heba, is in the Dream 11, but we don't know who he is. And they've also signed an elite German. Oh, now that might be showy forward. Because bear in mind, when you retire, all the nicknames disappear. So I think that's probably showy forward in the Dream 11 as well. I'm fairly confident this is showy forward. Is he still described as a showy forward? No, he's elite forward now. I mean, he's earned a new nickname. So hold on. Elite showy forward. Gotta give him his correct name. So that is showy forward. But there'll be a couple of them who've got nicknames like Big Boy. We will just be Boy Spee again. Devon Creel will be whatever he was before, and anyone else who's got a nickname isn't gonna show up the way we want them to show up. But let's have a look at that Leamington squad. So I mean, we've already started with showy forward, who, I mean, it looks like he's turned out all right. He was the first one we splurged a big ton of money on. He's been there nearly 10 years now, but 71 million was a huge amount of money when we bought him. And it seems like it was well worth it. One of the best players in the league, an elite player, lovely to see. Mikel Arteta is the Leamington manager. Well, Jeremias Gonzalez is the only other club legend. Our record signing, £115 million we spent on him. And after 6 years at the club, he is now also a club legend. He has done that remarkably quickly. That suggests there was maybe another Champions League win or something like that in there as well. Remy's on there as club icon, as is Alan Raven. There are other managers. Florian Harthers is on there as favoured personnel as a manager, as is Mikel Arteta. So that suggests there's been a couple of managers. Also on the favoured personnel, Marcelo, this Heba guy we just looked at, Mile Saka's on there, and Luca Dolman on there as well. So the whole of that back four, all at least favoured personnel. So that suggests they stuck together for a little while. The ground never got expanded. There's still no competitive rivalries been added. So that's ridiculous. And this is the current team. So 5 years later, I mean, that looks very familiar to me. That is my goalkeeper, my back four still together 5 years later, and then my front four still together 5 years later. All they've had to do is change the midfield up a bit here and there. Presumably because they sold Big Boy for loads of money because he's not still knocking around anymore. But these are my boys. This is still me. This is still my team. Plamen is in there at 27 years old. I mean, he doesn't score a huge number of goals, but he's still there. And that's important. Gonzalez, we've already looked at. Showy Forward, we've already looked at. Ivani's still there, having scored loads of goals as well. Bindy's on the bench, the chat are saying. There is Bindy, yeah, so Bindy has turned up. But I love the fact that Saka, Dolman, Remy, and Raven are all still there. I said in yesterday's video / stream, I said that these 4 players as a back 4 could be the back 4 for years to come. They'll be as legendary as that Arsenal back 4 of the 90s. People will remember this back 4 forever. They've messed up the squad numbering, which I'm not on board with. But Dolman, at 30 years old, has been there 10 years. 80 caps for Germany for Luka Dolman. Remy Van Schaik, 33 now, but still a regular. And then Alan Raven at 33, still a regular as well. They've all been there for so long. And of course, Kim, now 35 years old, been our first Jewish goalkeeper forever. Chris will still try and tell you that Kila was better, but we all know best. So I'm really happy that so many of my boys are still there. What we do need to do is find out where the ones that have gone missing have gone. Moraes is still there as a rotation option. Looks like he's stuck around as a starter in midfield for a while. And then as he's got older, because he's now 33, as he's got older, he's drifted down the pecking order a little bit, as you would imagine. Eder is still there as well. He's 26 and only got 4 caps for Brazil. I guess when you've got Saka in your way, it's hard to become the next Roberto Carlos, which is what we hoped he would be. What I'm not seeing is Harry Matthews anywhere. So it's going to be interesting to see what Harry Matthews is up to. That's one of the new midfielders. So he's come in this season from Arsenal. And then this is the Hebar guy who's been at Man United for years and has just come in. I don't like either of them. I'm not on board with either of them being here. They should get out of here. What we are going to do is have a look at the transfers since I left. So if we go back to, it's such a clunky file now. Is it even going to let me go back? Right. So that was my last year of transfers. 20, 40, 41. I've gone too far that way. Right. Let's try and actually find. So this was my last year of transfers, which was the last really big spending year. Looking at this, they've not really spent since. We will take over as manager in a second and have a look at the club finances, because it looks like, looking at that, it's just been 5 years of not really spending because we spent so much, but still winning. So it doesn't really matter. So let's see. The following year, they brought a few losers in, but we really cared with who left. Victor Yahaya leaving, I'm a little bit annoyed about. He was an English wonder kid who was homegrown at club, or was going to be. He should have been he should be in that midfield now. Although the fact that he's at Sheffield United suggests he probably wasn't very good. Kila went to Liverpool the year after I left and became Liverpool's starting goalkeeper for 5 years. So it turns out Kila was quite good as well. No Kim, but he was quite good. And then we've got, is it going to Bayern? See, that's a weird one. I know towards the end of the Champions League run, he was refusing to sign a contract extension because he wanted to win the Champions League, but then we won it. So I'm a little bit surprised he didn't then stay, but it looks like he left immediately and he's now had 5 years at Bayern Munich. So I guess Showy Forward just took over from him straight away. And then Koenig went to Real Oviedo. Move on another year. Another loser is coming. We don't care about him. Fontaine left on a free, which is a little bit sad. Fontaine ended up not having much of a career, to be honest. Looks like he was never as good as we thought he would be. That's a little bit of a shame for Fontaine. Very sad. If we skip forward another year, I haven't seen Big Boy yet. Have I missed Big Boy? So Marcelo, who has now retired, left on a free to go to Espanyol. That's the left back we signed who won the next gen. Turns out he wasn't very good either. Still no sign of Harry Matthews or Big Boy. Cristiano went to Celtic for 61 million. That is an interesting transfer. Have Celtic now joined Dundee United and had a tycoon? Yes, they have. Celtic had a tycoon in 2037. Scottish football is flooded with money, and Cristiano went to Celtic for 61 million. presumably again because he couldn't break into this legendary back four that we've got. But it shows he would have been great if he'd have stuck around. And then why have I... There's still no sign of Harry Matthews or Big Boy. We go one more year. Right, here we go. Now they're leaving. They both left at the same time. So Big Boy, we have to give him his nickname back. We're not having any of this boy spee nonsense. Big Boy went to Bayern Munich. So he's joined up with Izzet at Bayern Munich. He's only just gone 113 million for a player who's 28. I feel like that's probably quite a low fee looking at this career he's had with Leamington. And considering how much we paid for him, I probably would have been looking for a little bit more than that, or just not to sell him at all and continue building the midfield around him. I feel like the club loses something by losing Big Boy. Harry Matthews going to Leipzig is interesting. He's not exactly become the next Harry Kane, has he? Mainly because he's got 20 acceleration, 17 pace. So he's definitely not the next Harry Kane. He's become something else entirely. He's only just gone there. He never really broke into the team as a regular. I guess because he had the likes of Gonzalez and Plaman and Marcelo and Showy Forward all ahead of him, he just never really burst through. So he's gone to Leipzig. It shows how good he is. At 25, he went to Leipzig for 40 million, but he's not exactly done anything there either. So it suggests that, considering striker is still his only natural position, does suggest he's still playing as a centre forward. But I felt like he would drop back and be an attacking midfielder or a winger, and it's not really worked out for him, which was unfortunate. Kevin Watson, confirmation that one didn't really work out. Oh, to be fair, he played a lot of games after I left. I didn't really use him. I only started him 7 times. But it looks like he played quite a bit of football over 5 years and probably became quite a useful player for us. And then, I don't know who Eric Malik, I think he's another one of the ones who came in. Does anyone have any idea what Devon Creel's name might have been? Because he's the one that I've not noticed on the way out. Could he have been... Would that be him, maybe? That's Devon Creel, isn't it? Yeah, signed from Chelsea. Let's give him his name back. So Devon Creel has to have his own name back. So that's what happened to Devon Creel. Stuck around as a fringe player behind the legendary back four for a little while and then went to Fulham. So probably always kept a house near Chelsea and has just headed back there to finish off his career in the Championship. He can now re-emerge. Now this is done, he can he's going to Sevilla as well. He can re-emerge and rejoin the chat. Now he's missed his entire run as a player. Imagine getting a name in a game player, him becoming such a crucial player that he ends up playing for like 7 or 8 years for the club and missing all of it. If Devon Creel ever does come back, we have some stories to tell him about what's gone on here. But let's see what competitions Leamington have won. We already know there's a couple of... Whoa! Whoa! We knew there was a couple more Premier Leagues. There's a couple more Champions League as well. Oh, we built a team. I am all of a sudden wondering if this Leamington team is going to win the LOLLUJO Cup. That is 3 Champions League wins, 3 Premier League wins, runners up in the Premier League whenever they're not winning it. FIFA Club World Cup finally got one as well. I'm claiming that one. There's a Europa League in there as well. Leamington have now won everything because there's the Europa League that was missing. There's the Club World Cup that was missing. The Super Cup is one as well. There's a second FA Cup, a second Carabao Cup, several Community Shields. At some point, they need to drop back down and win the Championship because we only ever got runner-up in the Championship. But that can be a job for Mikel Arteta now. So who was manager when? So I was replaced by Florian Harthers, who had been at PSG. Paris Saint-Germain's manager left to join Leamington. Someone let Torkev know because that is a beautiful thing. But he got sacked after keeping me in the role for 20 years and only leaving when I retired. This guy was there for 2 years, won the Champions League, won the Premier League, and still got sacked. My word. I love this. Omari Theodros did get time as caretaker manager as well. So he got sacked after a Champions League win and a Premier League win in his 2 years at the club, and was replaced by Borja Lasso, Ted Lasso's brother, who was there for a year, won the Premier League and got sacked, which again is utterly baffling. The board have gone mental. So he was there for less than a year in that year won the Premier League, still got sacked, at which point Theodros took over, who is still the under-18s assistant manager. And now Mikel Arteta's been there a year and a half, during which time he's won the FA Cup, the Champions League, the Club World Cup, the Community Shield, the European Super Cup, and the Carabao Cup. And he's probably on the verge of getting sacked for not winning the Premier League. Was it the same board all the way through? Did they ever get the new board? Because I don't know why they got so sacky. It doesn't look like there was a takeover at any point. They just decided to get sacky after me, which is really interesting. How high must the expectations have been to sack either of them after what they came in and achieved? That is bonkers. But I love the fact that Theodros got an entire month. He got to manage Leamington at Christmas. That is perfect for me. Utterly perfect. Oh, my word. Right. We need to take over the club and see what the financial situation is. Go. I've replaced poor old Mikel Arteta. Kev lacks the reputation. Well, he's won the Champions League. He has quite the reputation. The save is so achingly slow now. My word. Look at that. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Apparently, this is our best striker. Some guy called Prada. Enrique Prada. Not buying it. And who's this? Tugjas. These aren't the boys we were just looking at. Oh, Gonzalez is a midfielder now, apparently. But there is the legendary back four and goalkeeper. Love that. Love every part of that. But let's look at the finances and just see what the situation is financially at the club. Still 200 million in debt. Have been 200 to 300 million in debt all the way through. And I think the moral of the tale is it just doesn't matter. Just does not matter at all. Transfer debt is actually a positive situation. So they're owed more money than they've spent. But there's still a huge amount of debt here. And the club are still considered, even with that debt, to have okay finances. They're actually in the process of a board takeover now. So that's going to be quite an interesting... Well, I say it's going to be quite interesting. We're never actually going to see it happen because we're not going to go any further into the future. But there is a board takeover now happening. And I think the board probably need to expand the stadium as a matter of priority. But let's just retire temporary Kev. He only comes in very briefly. And we'll carry on having a quick looking around the rest of the world. So temporary Kev is going to resign. And we can bin him off and go back into looking around the rest of the wider footballing world. So Champions League. Let's have a little look. So past winners. Obviously, we won it there. We then retained it the next year. City won it twice. Then we won it again. Then it's back with Real Madrid as Leamington start to fall off. But somewhere in there, we won the Europa League as well. I mean, I think it's fair to say things turned out all right, didn't they? In the world of Leamington. Chat, I'm throwing this over to you. Is there anything else you want to see before we wrap this up? I think we're done for YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, hope you enjoyed it. Leave a thumbs up. All that. Don't worry about the finger. Just leave a thumbs up on your way out. Please and thank you. More Football Manager content coming to the channel soon. Once the new game comes out. Between now and then, you've got Civ and FIFA. So make sure you stay subscribed. Lots of good stuff on the way. But I'm now just going to hang out with the Twitch lot again for a little bit longer.